Howdy everyone, Shadowroo here, and I am your coach of the Sarasota Sizzlers. Today I have for you my team and battle analysis for the Woods Season 5, Week 6. This time we're up against Mandem, the coach of the Bronx Obstagoons. He's a bit of a good battler, and we've both been looking forward to this one, so should be an interesting one for sure. Let's take a look at his team. So, looking at this, I would imagine the first thing that comes to mind would be Dragapult. Like, in terms of threats, that is. Turns out I was wrong in my Week 1 statement saying that, oh, Zeraora, fastest unboosted Pokemon in the draft tier. No, it's actually Dragapult. By, like, a lot. This Pokemon is very fast. Like, it's really, really hard for me specifically to outspeed him and still be able to deal with the rest of his team. Like, if I Scarf something and manage somehow to outspeed him, great, I'm locked into answering it. And the rest of his team obviously has insane type coverage. He doesn't have a fairy type. Well, he does, it's Whimsicott, but Whimsicott's not very offensive. But anyway, his team, nice mix of fast offense and just sheer bulk. Durant is another fast Pokemon, base 108 if I remember correctly, and with Hustle, first impression, that's a lot of damage. He even gets Hone Claws, so after one Hone Claws, the accuracy drop from Hustle doesn't matter anymore. So if he manages to set up on us, that's a yikes. Rotom obviously is very versatile, can be Nasty Plot sweeping, or bulky pivot, or just like a bulky defogger. Whimsicott for good utility, with Tailwind even if he wanted to be even faster. Lucario with obvious physical and special sweeping capabilities between Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, and really good coverage overall. Gyarados being probably the best Dragon Dance sweeper in the entire OU tier. Umbreon even is there for some nice utility, some Heal Bell, Wish Passing, that sort of thing. Can even Toxic Stall me thanks to Home. And even his last three picks are really nice rounded out bulk. Between Double having Fluffy and Claydol having Claydol stats, we might have our work cut out for us this week. I know I keep saying that, but it really does seem like everyone this season rather, has drafted quite well. So every team is a threat. But anyway, enough on that. Let's move into the counterplay. So first things first, I noticed that Incineroar is very good against his team. He's going to obviously notice that too, and so I expect him very much to bring prep for it. But I can't not bring Incineroar. This thing with Assault Vest tanks a Specs Draco Meteor from Dragapult with a lot of HP to spare. Knockoff would obviously OHKO. And with Durant, after an Intimidate, I do live one first impression. So if it comes down to it, and say rocks aren't up on the field, I can kill it with Flare Blitz at the very least. And I figured Flare Blitz is what I'm going to have to run this week over Fire Punch, just because I need the extra damage. We also have Thunder Punch, specifically for Gyarados. If I get an Intimidate off, Waterfall actually doesn't do that much, and Thunder Punch does hella damage. And U-Turn is there because can't run Parting Shot with an Assault Vest, and I still want to be able to pivot out with this boy. Obviously, you'll notice the minus speed nature. So what does that indicate? Trick Room, of course, and who's better to set Trick Room than Pringles? We're bringing Jellicent again this week. Partially because it's a really good check to Gyarados, partially because it checks Durant really well, assuming he doesn't have Hone Claws, because we are not running Taunt this week, but we do have Strength Sap, so it could work. And aside from that, it's just general good physical bulk. Can maybe swap into Claydol. There's a number of reasons why Jellicent, I think, would work well this week. Pretty basic spread, similar to what we brought last week. We're bringing Scald, Strength Sap, Trick Room, and Shadow Ball. Pretty basic EV spread as well. Just a little bit in special defense for Dragapult and the like. So we can do some damage with this boy. Maybe set up a Trick Room for the rest of the team. I only decided to bring one Trick Room setter this week. So Bronzong is staying out this week, and I actually built some of the rest of the team to be able to function out of Trick Room. But we're basically running not quite a full Trick Room team this week, but a Trick Room package. We're not fully dependent on it, but if we can get it up, it might help against things like Durant, so we're going with it. Next up, we have Cujo, the Pangoro, coming back once again, with Mold Breaker this time instead of Iron Fist, because he does have Rotom Heat and he does have Claydol, and I would like to be able to hit both of those with Earthquake. I don't want Earthquake to be like, oh, safe swap in or whatever like that. So we're running Earthquake, knock off Close Combat instead of Drain Punch, and Fire Punch for basically Durant, because Earthquake hits most everything else. Obviously, this thing might get soft checked by Gyarados if I can't OHKO it, but we didn't have the move slot to run Thunder Punch, I think. I think it's way, way more important that we have Earthquake for Rotom Heat and Fire Punch for Durant. Durant really complicates things, because otherwise I think I could just run Earthquake and be fine. I'd hit his Steel type, I'd hit Rotom, but I can't have Durant being able to come in and just, you know, be free. So if I can, like, get this thing in after he uses First Impression on a Trick Room or something, I need to be able to kill it before it can, like, tear through my team. Moving forward, I figured I'd bring Chimera again as a fast out-of-Trick Room Pokemon. I built it to outspeed best I could Rotom Heat, because Rotom Heat is the closest speed tier to Silvally. Durant, like I mentioned, is base 108, and Dragapult is fast as fuck boy. So the only real thing I can hope to outspeed would probably be Rotom Heat. So we built it for that. We have Surf, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, and Multi-Attack. Just a basic 4-attack spread with a Fairy typing specifically for Dragapult. I need to be able to, you know, live whatever he throws at me or swap in on a Dragon move and then kill with Multi-Attack. And if I brought really any other typing for it, I'd be left really, really weak to either Durant or Dragapult itself. So we're bringing Fairy, even though I am weak to Steel with it, and he does have 2 really good Steel types. I think we have to accept that risk. Moving on, we are once again bringing Buns, who does not, in fact, want any of it. He is running a pretty basic spread with Ground Rock coverage, which, as I've mentioned before, hits most everything at least neutrally. We're running Fire Fang for Durant, and Coil, just in case we come in on something and we can set up. This thing could soft check Durant if I set up enough. Hell, if I'm set up enough, it kind of soft checks Gyarados. I can just hit it with Stone Edge, and it actually wouldn't miss thanks to Coil being the awesome setup move that it is. But pretty basic idea as to why I'm bringing this guy. Not running Glare. I was considering it to cripple things like Dragapult, but I figured he's probably still going to outspeed me just because of how fast that thing is, even paralyzed. And I am running Trick Room, so it's probably not the best idea anyway. And not to mention, again, so much of his team is absolutely terrifying, and I don't know if I want to give up a turn for a move that might miss. So we're running just a basic Coil 3-move sweeping set. And finally, I am bringing Toxtricity here. Joseph is making a reappearance with a different spread than you might be used to. I've mentioned before that I might run Shift Gear one week. I didn't know exactly when, because it is difficult to get a Shift Gear up sometimes, but there are a few Pokemon on his team that I think I can live one hit and get a Shift Gear up on, especially if they're whittled down. If I come in on Umbreon, if I come in on really any of his more passive lower tiers, except for Claydol, of course, I'm more than able to get a Shift Gear up, and with a Shift Gear, I outspeed a good amount of his team. I'm relatively certain I outspeed Dragapult after I do that. I'm not entirely sure. I have to check my speed calcs again. But if I'm able to do that, I'm able to hit him with really just a lot of things, and I decided to go physical to complement that, because this thing's attack stat isn't that bad, and its only fire move rather is Fire Punch, and I need to be able to obviously hit Durant and Lucario, so I decided physical so I could maybe outspeed something, and I do resist First Impression, I believe 4 times. I don't remember whether Electric resist Bug, but I can live one, kill Durant with Fire Punch, life is good. So yeah, Shift Gear Toxtricity has finally made an appearance. We can be fast out of Trick Room, and hopefully maybe late game clean up the rest of his team if I can find an opportunity to set up. So yeah, that's the basic team. Like I said, I'm not running full Trick Room. I'm running a Trick Room package because I don't think it's safe to bring Bronzong this week. I just think that being that weak to Dragapult is not a good thing, especially with Sandaconda dying in like one hit from it. And I need to be able to still get... I need to be able to pressure his team out of Trick Room and in Trick Room. So there was a lot of hoping and praying going into this. Hoping and praying that we can get something to work out, be it Trick Room or the lack thereof. So we will see how that goes. I'll turn it over to the battle and see y'all in just a moment. Alrighty, here we are. So, looking at what he brought, it appears that I mostly predicted what he was going to bring. The obvious ones would have been, Dragapult, Durant, Gyarados. I'm pretty sure that was a given. And Rotom Heat was pretty good against most of my team, especially if he's like a bulky spread with Will-O-Wisp. He actually can do a lot of work with that, so good on him for bringing that. And Claydol, Lucario are not bad brings either. We did prep for them, I think, well at that, so I don't think we're woefully unprepared for them, but nonetheless, they are good options, and I need to keep them in mind, so we're not going to at least lose to some, cheese that we didn't expect. So let's hop right into this. So, starting off, I figured Incineroar is probably my safest lead. Regardless of what he comes in on, nothing's going to really appreciate and intimidate, except for maybe like Claydol and Rotom Heat. But in those cases, they can't do much to me in return. Well, Claydol can, but depending on his spread, Knockoff could kill. So, but with Gyarados out, I didn't really want him to set up or anything like that, so I just went for the safe bet, went out to Silvally. I guess he expected me to go for T-Bolt, so he swapped into Claydol. We did not reveal it this time, though, and instead I clicked Multi-Attack and then Surf, so Claydol, despite being able to get rocks up, is now really low. That's good. It means it's probably going to get revenge killed by something. He goes back out into Gyarados. I probably should have expected that. He doesn't know that I have T-Bolt. He did prep for it, though, with the Wakan Berry, though, so that's good prep on his part. But Silvally now has weakened two pretty decent Pokemon. We definitely take those, and getting that Thunderbolt off on Gyarados is huge. It now is no longer as much of a terrifying, setup sweeper. It's obviously still a sweeper, but we take those nonetheless. So I get a Surf off on Rotom. He Volt switches out into Dragapult. Now, this is where his prep was actually really, really good. I did not expect sub-disable Dragapult at all. That is really good prep on his behalf, and now Silvally being disabled really can't touch him all that well without him just going for substitute again and kicking my shit in. So I figured I'm going to go into Sandaconda. Depending on how much damage this does, he might be like super bulky. I might be able to live a couple, maybe get a coil or two up, and go from there. But no, he just goes for Dragon Pulse, and I, like a dumbass, go for Coil, and Sandaconda now is basically wasted. Especially since, another 53% roll is just going to eat my ass. So, oh well. We have now down one Pokemon. Even in a really bad spot. Not really sure what I'm going to do from this point. So I go out into Toxtricity thinking, I don't know, I need to maybe set up a shift gear or something just to get going. In hindsight, I should probably just broken the sub here. Maybe he would have gone for Disable. I doubt it, though. He probably would have just killed me. Either way, sub's broken, and this thing is fast enough to definitely set up another one, so I wasn't quite sure what to do. I just figured I need to get Trick Room up and maybe break his sub so something like Pangoro can come in and knock him off. So I go into Jellicent. He goes for Shadow Ball. Thank God we invested in Spadef because we did live, barely. I'm able to get the Trick Room off, and in this particular instance, I wasn't sure what he was going to do, but I figured, I'll stall him a little bit. I'll go for Strength Sap. If he goes for Sub, we're back in the same position anyway. He goes for Dragon Pulse instead, though, which would have killed me if I didn't go for that Strength Sap, but alas. So here's where the luck starts coming into play. I go for Shadow Ball. It does really good damage. I'm relieved to see that. He goes for Shadow Ball. Given the last hit, it should have killed, but he min-rolled, so you really hate to see that. So we are alive and posed to kill his Dragapult, so he makes the right play and sacks off Claydol here. I'm at a bad position here because Durant's obviously going to come in and click First Impression, and then we're in an awful, awful predicament with really no way to deal with this man and his predicaments. But here's the thing. Durant Hustle makes him miss the First Impression. Therefore, Jellicent gets to live, put Durant at -1, and recover to full health. We definitely take those. So he goes for Crunch. Obviously, Life Orb Crunch still does a lot at -1 to Durant, but I am able to get my Trick Room up. After that, I click Strength Sap again. Really no point in not doing that. Get back up to full. Even if he goes into Rotom, I would appreciate it. He goes for Crunch, misses again. That is really unfortunate. So he goes into Lucario here. I go for Scald. Do not get the burn. That's unfortunate, but given everything that's happened, I don't really think I can expect more out of that situation. So I go into Pangoro thinking he's not going to click Close Combat. He can't really click Close Combat. He has to be clicking a Dark move. So we read that correctly, and my assumption is that he swapped out because he's choice, but I didn't calc it. I went for the safe play here and went for Earthquake because if he did stay in, clicking knockoff on a Lucario and putting it at +1 is never a good thing, so he goes into Gyarados just to get the Intimidate off, but knockoff still kills the Rotom at that percent. That's crazy. So here I read the swap, go into Silvally Fairy, thinking, I'm probably not going to live anyway, but it'd be nice if I did. And I did. He got another min roll. So that's really unfortunate on his behalf, but it puts him at kill percent with multi-attack. Awesome. That's really good. Silvally did even more than I expected it to do. So obviously it's going to just get revenge killed by Dragapult. No point in him wasting HP going for a substitute. So here I go back into Pangoro thinking, whatever, I have Earthquake and it does enough to break subs, so we take those. He goes into Gyarados here. I go for knockoff. Even though he doesn't have an item, it does a lot of damage to him regardless, and I will accept that outcome. Not sure why he went for Earthquake here, probably fearing a Jellicent swap, but knockoff is able to clean up the rest of that Gyarados' HP, and he goes back into Dragapult, presumably to just kill me, which he does. That Dragapult has gotten a lot of kills this season, and I'm pretty sure it's actually the kill leader, and this definitely did not help that situation. But anyway, I go out into Jellicent thinking this is where the mind games really begin. He goes for sub, I go for Shadow Ball. I'm thinking even if he disables me, I need to get my Trick Room up. If he does disable me, I'll accept that outcome, and I'll try to go for a Scald Burn or something. He goes for Shadow Ball instead, though, and I am able to get my Trick Room up, and that is a really good position for me. He, I think at this point, just calls it GG. He was hoping for a crit, and we are able to clean off the Dragapult here. So, obviously, the last threat standing in my way is Durant. It is a 50-50 at full on Incineroar. Incineroar is not, though, at full for a first impression KO. So I figure I'm just going to let Jellicent go for Scald, get as much damage as I can, maybe get a burn, and I did get the burn. That's really unfortunate for him because it means I win 2-0 instead of 1-0, and Jellicent is able to pick up just one more cheeky KO to finish this one off. So yeah, we did it. We picked up a W this week. Not going to lie, we got insanely lucky. RN Jesus really took the wheel on that one. And bless up for that one, I suppose. We definitely 100% take those. Pringles put in the absolute work. And that's really unfortunate to Mandem. But I guess that's what happens when you draft Durant. You live by the hustle. You die by the hustle. So it's unfortunate that it played out that way. He very easily could have just 4-0'd me if that didn't happen. And Jellicent wasn't allowed to stick around, get more health back, cripple his physical attackers, and end up killing Dragapult in the end. But someone's got to do it, I suppose. And we move in to the next week at 4-2, and actually queued up for playoffs if we can keep this up. So I'm happy about that. Again, Mandem, if you see this, I'm really sorry that it had to play out that way. I really wish that I didn't win because of RNG, but I guess it did happen that way, so good luck next week, my dude. And to all other competitors in the woods, good luck moving into Week 7. As always, I am Shadowroo, and I will catch you all next time. Cheers, folks.